Welcome back to Taival Outdoors and the third installment in my cold weather clothing and layering video series. In this video, we are going to go through different type of outer layers, mainly jackets, but we'll touch upon pants as well in the end of this video. Let's start off with the lightest outer layer I have and progress towards heavier and more insulating ones as we go on. So first of all, this is Varustelleka Särmä TST Wind Anorak in my favorite Finnish camouflage pattern, M05 winter pattern. So not snow pattern, but winter. And main purpose of this piece of clothing is, as the name implies, block wind. Doesn't have any pockets, has this hood with bit of a zipper here, adjustment for the hood over here, and that's about it. Some velcro in the sleeve cuffs here. Packs down incredibly small, can be fitted in double AK magazine pouch, and it is very loose fitting, as you can see, but that's because I bought it so that I can fit this over my chest trick during military exercises. So if you're getting this just for generic outdoor use, you can of course get something that it's a bit more form-fitting if you so choose. But this is mainly, in my case, for those military purposes, but every now and then I'm also taking this with me when I'm out and about. Combined with a wool shirt like I have right now, this is actually a very good combination. I can adjust the amount of insulation and warmth I need with the base layer and mid layer, and then throw this on as I'm walking, just to protect me from the occasional gust of wind, or when I'm brushing up against trees or whatnot. I don't want to damage the mid layer, so I can have just this on. There are some reviewers who claim that this is water resistant. In my experience, that is not the case at all. In fact, it is quite wet already, and it's around 0 degrees today, but just by touching snow and so forth, eventually it will soak through. So this is just blocking the wind, and that is it. So very lightweight, easy to throw on, packs down incredibly small, but it's just a wind anorak. Don't expect anything else from it. Tad pricey for what it is, but what can I say? I'm a sucker for this camouflage pattern in this color, so it is what it is. Let's move on. Next up, we have Peak Performance Vislight Jacket C. This one I bought last fall. I was looking for a new waterproof and general outdoor jacket to be used during the late fall rainstorms and so forth, and something that I can put on no matter the weather when I'm going outside with the dog. And I realized that, holy hell, Gore-Tex jackets are really expensive. But luckily I found this from Peak Performance's own outlet store for half the price, so I got it and haven't been regretting that decision at all. One thing I want to touch upon when talking about these type of hard shell jackets, and especially Gore-Tex, main thing that probably half of you right now are screaming at the screen and saying that no, don't get Gore-Tex or hard shells because they don't breathe. Now, while I was researching these jackets last fall, I realized that there is more than one type of Gore-Tex available. Some of you, this is old news, but for me, this was a big revelation because I learned that there's a thing called Gore-Tex Active, and that is the most breathable Gore-Tex available. And breathability is measured in, was it RET scale? And on that scale, this specific jacket has the best possible score. So I figured, if the main downside of a hard shell jacket is breathability, then why not get a jacket made out of Gore-Tex Active? It gives that best level of breathability right out of the box. Of course, as always, with all of these jackets, this has plenty of ventilation possibilities. But if you are someone who are like me and isn't that familiar with hard shell jackets and are looking to invest into one, try to find something that is made out of Gore-Tex Active. At least that should put you in a better position if you are like me and you are also active when wearing this. You know, I'm not one of those guys who buys like a 600 euro Gore-Tex jacket and only uses it to walk between their house and their car and their office and so forth. But I'm actually using this jacket all the time when I'm out with the dog and so forth. And many people also swear by wearing Gore-Tex throughout the winter, and yeah, I can see some value in it, definitely. But if it's very dry and cold conditions and you know, proper winter conditions in that sense, I would rather use something else, because I think, in my mind at least, that waterproofness is kind of then wasted in those kind of conditions with those elements that you have then around you. But for example, today temperatures around 0 degrees, wet snow coming down and wet snow on the trees. Wearing Gore-Tex totally makes sense in my opinion. Oh, as a final note about this jacket, as an additional bonus, which again, something that I wasn't aware of when looking at Gore-Tex jackets in general, but then when I found this, I noticed that it also has a hood that can fit on top of a bicycle helmet, or I guess any helmet like skiing helmet and so forth. But for me, that's a nice addition, because I can then use this during fat biking and so forth in the winter, or in spring, in the fall, when it's nasty outside, raining and whatnot. I'm still going to go fat biking, so I can throw this on top of the helmet as long as I just loosen this adjustment. But as you can see, it can be adjusted to fit my head quite nicely, even without the helmet, and has a good hood that covers your face. Gore-Tex hard shells are pricey, and still, even though I really like this jacket, I will probably not buy ever a Gore-Tex jacket with full price. It's just a bit ridiculous to put that kind of money to clothing that I'm going to use and abuse somewhat. So, but anyway, got this for half the price, and I'm quite happy about it. Rather long, size XL. That way I can definitely wear this during winter and have plenty of layers underneath, no issues at all. So there you have it. Hard shell jackets are an option among others during winter. All right, this is UF Pro Ace Winter Combat Shirt. And I've had this ever since they released this, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I immediately bought it, and I'm glad I did. I've been using this a lot during winter, and this is especially nice when fat biking. So, in case you don't know what a combat shirt traditionally means, there tends to be lighter weight material around the midsection, and then more insulation and tougher materials around the arms, because then you can wear combat vest or whatever on top of this. However, this is not for combat use, of course, for me, but generally outdoor use. And for that, it's actually quite nice, because when you are active, it's nice to have that extra breathability around the midsection. And this also does have zippers on both sides for added ventilation. But also, when you have a backpack on, this has padding on shoulders as well as in the mid back to really ease with carrying that load. And also it creates a bit of a air gap then between the backpack and this shirt to act as better insulation. And also, if you have these pit zips open, then that air gap makes it more, well, it increases the ventilation as well. There is some type of merino wool in these sleeves and midsection and everything else, and the top materials are all synthetic. It is water resistant, wind resistant, and has plenty of pockets, as UF Pro clothing always does. But I mentioned first of all in the base layer video that you should always have some kind of clothing that has these thumb holes and covers your wrists. In this case, this shirt has those, so if I don't have thumb holes in my base layer or mid layer, then at least this has those covered. And another thing I mentioned then in previous video where we talked about those mid layers was that the vest that I showed, the one that I had made myself out of Fjällräven elk sweater, actually goes with this now very well. Let me show you. Now, as I mentioned, the midsection has a lot less insulation than these arms, but now I've completely balanced it out. I have plenty of insulation here in the midsection while still keeping access to these zippers and providing me with additional warmth throughout. Also, as this is kind of an anorak style shirt, it has a big pocket up front. Now this becomes again a good place to store, let's say, batteries or your phone or perhaps snacks that you want to warm up before eating. Put them here, close the zipper, and there you go. Quite nice combination. Has some reinforcements here in the sleeves, and generally speaking, super technical, no doubt about that. Very high speed clothing compared to this low speed vest, but still I've been enjoying this quite a bit. Full review of this is on my channel. I will leave a link up here and also in the description where you can check it out. It is in Finnish, but it has English subtitles in it as well. And actually, that video covers two pieces of clothing. First one being this, and the next one being Varustelekka Jämäluhka, made out of old Finnish Defense Forces surplus wool, similar material as these pants actually. Very simple construction, but it does provide a couple of key benefits. It has a hood, which this shirt of course doesn't have, so now I can cover my ears and head better. And it does provide additional, of course, insulation and block from wind. But perhaps the main benefit of something like this is that when you get to your campsite, set up a nice fire, you have something like this on, or even if you have just well, any jacket or a wool shirt or something, you can easily throw this on and have additional protection from sparks and whatnot, so you don't ruin your fancy clothing, and instead this can protect them and take that abuse and you know, live to see another day. Very tough fabric and does offer some protection against wet snow and so forth, but maybe main downside is of course that if you are a taller individual such as myself, you can see that these sleeves can ride quite high, and also it's very difficult to wear a big backpack. In fact, you probably cannot wear a big like a rucksack with this, but you can wear a small backpack with this. That's also, I believe, visible in my review video that I did a couple of years back of this combat shirt and Jämäluhka. This is a nice combination, has been with me for many winters, and I quite like it. Two very different pieces of clothing, but again, goes to show you that never limit yourself to some specific clothing category or something. Just get yourself what you think works for you in those conditions that you face. And these two work fine for me, although they are the polar opposites. So there you have it. And now let's move on to the warmest jacket that I own, and this is it. It's 511 Tactical's Acadia down jacket. My first ever down jacket, and something that I've been now testing a bit, but I don't have yet enough experience with this to really tell you how durable or not this is. Because of course, Down's main, well, downsides, or what people generally tend to fear, are its durability and also the issues that Down has with wet conditions. By the way, this is why this zipper is angled to the side on this combat shirt, because when you do put some kind of jacket on top, now you don't have two zippers on top of each other pressing against your throat. Quite nice. All right, but here we go. Few things to note. Simple sleeves that stretch a bit. Again, good, because you want this thing to pack quite small, so you don't have like Velcro cuffs or anything else going on here. Does have simple pockets on the side, one at the chest, little stuff sack. Does come with the jacket, of course. But generally speaking, this is not something that I would wear when I am active, but instead I would use it like so, as final layer to put on top if I'm taking a break or if I'm at the camp and so forth. That's mainly because I prefer the flexibility that multiple light layers give me, instead of going with only, let's say, 2 heavy layers. As mentioned, many people are kind of worried about the durability of Down clothing, but I was also very skeptical about Down as a material in general. But after using many winters a Down sleeping bag, I can see that maybe some of those worries were a bit misplaced. And if we are looking at outdoor brands in general, then I would say 511 is something that I do trust in terms of durability, and therefore I have at least high hopes for this specific jacket. So we'll see how it performs. I'm heading to Lapland proper wilderness in just a few weeks time, where temperatures should be a lot colder than what it is right now over here. So this jacket then gets into proper tests, and I will talk probably more about this in that specific video. But anyway, if you get something like this, I would suggest that you get something that is big enough to go over your clothing. Unless you get something that you want to wear when you go around the town or whatnot, then yeah, sure, do whatever you want. But if you want to get something that works for you in outdoor conditions, get big enough clothing that you can wear on top of other clothing. And as I did mention, if I would now have a campfire in front of me, I probably wouldn't want to go very close to it with Down jacket. So again, I have this Luhka. Let's throw this on. Like so. I can tell you that I'm very warm already. Right now I have 511 Tactical Merino Wool base layer. Then I have, actually I don't have a mid layer right now at all. I have this Ace Winter combat shirt, then the 511 Tactical Acadia down jacket, and Varustelleka Jämä Luhka on top. 4 layers, and actually I'm sort of now missing a proper mid layer, but layering isn't that strict. That you have to use those clothing that you have in a way that makes sense. And in this case, this would make most sense if I would be in a bit colder situation and in front of a campfire. Hopefully this has now given you some ideas how you can combine different type of cold weather clothing. Now, I haven't really been talking about temperature ranges where you should use what, because all of that is highly personal. For example, today in these conditions, judging by the snow that's coming down, I would say it is perhaps around -1, maybe -2 now as the day has progressed already quite a bit. Now, as I start backpacking out of here, I will wear just my base layer, maybe a waffle top on top, and then wind anorak, and that's it. When I'm moving, backpack on, that's all I need. That's what I meant when I mentioned earlier that you can get away with quite little amount of clothing in the winter. And if you are not used to cold conditions, it's something that it's very easy to get wrong. So always clothing based on upcoming activity. And if you are stopping, then try not to expose too much of yourself by taking out layers, putting other layers on and doing all that hassle, but put something on top. For example, in this case, now I would just take away layers without trying to find layers from from between and take off those and change like that. That's all nonsense. Put layers on top, take layers away, starting from the outside, not starting from the middle. Hopefully that makes sense. And now finally, few words about pants in cold weather. So first of all, you can absolutely use your basic summer backpacking or outdoor pants during winter as well, but be aware of that many of these tend to have these days these kind of stretchy sections and panels, perhaps between your knees or around your crotch and things like that. And while they are great for comfort during summer, usually those areas tend to be less wind resistant, and therefore you might lose quite a bit of heat through those areas. So if you have that kind of stretchy material in your pants, you might want to consider to go a bit heavier in your base layer around your legs than you would if you have some kind of thicker pants such as these. These are Varustelleka wool shell pants. Because this is my first winter with these pants, I cannot comment on their long-term durability just yet. But a couple of things that I have noticed already is that these can get a bit itchy if you don't have some type of long johns underneath, because they are made of wool, and this kind of quite coarse wool to be exact. These, for some reason, don't have places for any type of knee protection, which is a shame because I'm used to having my pants with the kind of flexible knee protection on them, and not so much to protect from the ground any kind of sharp stones or sticks during winter, but just to provide additional barrier between the cold and perhaps wet ground during winter would be nice. Anyway, I quite like the material combination and the basic looks of them, but that's really all I can say at this point. I just don't have enough experience with these pants just yet. I don't have any super insulated pants or anything because I rather go with layering than, again, wearing just some super thick pair of pants. The GoPro just fell to the snow, but I think it's still recording, so that's a good thing. Anyway, I think that's all I had to say about clothing today, and especially cold weather clothing and outerwear. In the next episodes, we're going to talk about gloves, hats, boots and socks, and other accessories and so forth. But those episodes are coming. I need to film them some other day and get out of this snow soon-ish, because I have plenty of snow shoveling to do back home, so I need to get back. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please leave a comments down below, any questions and so forth you might have, and let's cover those in a future episode. You've been watching Taival Outdoors. I'll see you all in the next one.